I want to start right with Roki Sasaki. I mean, this is big news that he's coming out at the
Yeah.
age of 23. And he's had a remarkable career. I think the Chiba Lodi Marines have done a good job of protecting him. He didn't even get to pitch his first year. They just kind of, wanted to build him up strength wise and teach him what it was like to be a professional baseball player in Japan. So, he's got over 400 innings, but he hasn't been, worn out like we've
He
seen a
had been
lot of Japanese
abused.
pitchers that come over here. And your thoughts on him? When do you think? What are you hearing down, from your sources when he's going to be posted?
It sounds like after December 1st that's when they can and probably will. So I expect it, right around December 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. And then it's going to be interesting because, as his situation is a little bit different. He's much like when Shohei Ohtani was posted. Um, he's treated like an amateur free agent, not a professional free agent, because he doesn't have the 6 years in Japan. So as such, he's only subject to whatever the posting fee is going to be, and then the major league minimum salary was $740,000 this year. He'll get more than that. I think Otani signed for $2.3 million or something way back when. Uh, but the interesting thing the with Sasaki being posted early is, it's he's affordable to anybody, all 30 teams. I mean, it's not like it's going to take a $90 million contract, or to use a more recent example, Yoshinobu Yamamoto last year when the Dodgers signed him for $325 million. I mean, this is going to be more like Otani's first contract, maybe $2 or $3 million, maybe a little bit more. Add in some inflation over the years, but everybody's going to have a crack at him. And the Dodgers are one of the favorites. The Padres obviously are being talked about quite a bit. I think they have some the Padres offer some perks that are unique to them that could very well end up attracting Sasaki.
Well, let me ask you this. I read an article last night. I did the UCSD basketball game, and I got home
Yeah,
and I was all
I
pumped up.
saw
The
that.
Titans had a nice win
Yeah.
last night over Sacramento State, and I started reading different articles. And one of the things that said, yeah, he's not going to, break the bank on this first contract, but he, a lot like Otani, has endorsements. And I'm just wondering, we keep hearing the Padres are, definitely in it because of his relationship with you, Darvish. But we know the situation up in LA, the second biggest media market in
Yeah.
the country. And this guy, it sounds like he's got people around him that are looking at the dollar signs right now. I mean, are you going to be able to get more endorsements in
Mhm.
LA than San Diego, or are they looking more at national endorsements?
National endorsements for sure, but it's interesting that Los Angeles situation, that's going to be very interesting to see because um, Otani's sucking up all the endorsements in Los Angeles, and so how much would be left over for Sasaki? I mean, I'm sure there'd be enough, and he would get his, but it also would seem like Los Angeles would be a limited market for endorsements because Otani's certainly going to get all the attention he did last year, and that'll continue. I mean, even Yamamoto is as good as he has been in Japan. He's, you know, by far second fiddle to Otani. So it'll be really interesting if Sasaki. I mean, you could look at it from a couple vantage points, right? One, Sasaki coming over, he could look and say, "Hey, that'd be good to go to Los Angeles with Otani and Yamamoto on the team. I've got a couple of fellow countrymen that I could play with. Naturally, he'd have a couple people that share his culture, could help bring him along. But on the other hand, if he goes to San Diego or a place other than Los Angeles, he can independently kind of blaze his own trail. And that's one big reason Otani went to the Angels all those years ago. Remember, word in Otani's camp at the time, and it proved to be true, was that, because Seattle was after him, but they had the whole Ichiro thing. Ichiro was retired, but Ichiro's legend was in Seattle. And what we heard with Otani that proved to be true when he signed with the Angels was this guy's independent. He wants to blaze his own trail. and he wants to go somewhere where he can kind of begin to create his own legacy independent of all of the other Japanese players that have come over. And that you wonder that with Sasaki.
I laugh when you bring up the name of Ichiro. Ichiro still suits up there in Seattle, throws
Yeah.
batting practice, takes fly balls, takes a little BG. He still thinks he can play.
It's going to be a year of Ichiro because he's the dominant name that's on the Hall of Fame ballot that's about to be mailed out to the Baseball Writers Association here, in another couple weeks. The Hall of Fame ballot will be out by December 1st. Of course, the votes are due by the end of December. And then in January, we find out who goes in. And I mean, Ichiro is on the ballot for the first time. When I was in Cooperstown in July, they were already preparing, uh, for Ichiro. They're expecting record-breaking crowds, in Cooperstown next July. So yeah, Ichiro, he still suits up in Seattle. He still think he probably could play. Probably, there'd probably be a place for him in the majors on some team where he could probably still do it. But yeah, we're about to enter the year of Ichiro, which will make it very interesting. I mean, Otani, if he comes back to pitch next year as he should, Sasaki coming over, Yamamoto doing what he started to do in Los Angeles this year. Ichiro's going into the Hall of Fame next year. These are the glory days for Japanese baseball and Japanese players coming over to the United States. And it's been a great thing, I think, for both countries so far, and it's going to get bigger next year, no doubt about it.
And they love the game so much in
Yeah,
Japan. I
yeah.
mean, they
It's still
really
the
love
number
the
one
game.
sport. Still the number one sport in Japan. It's national. I mean, the World Series set all kinds of viewing records in Japan. The most watched thing that has gone on, I think, ever. I got to double check that, but they love it. I mean, there's no NFL in Japan. It's what baseball used to be here in the 60s, 50s, 60s, and 70s.